In a small town in Ohio, there lived a man named Marcus Johnson. Marcus was known throughout the neighborhood for his skill as a mechanic and his kind heart. He owned a modest auto repair shop tucked away on a quiet street where he spent most of his days fixing cars, trucks, and even bicycles. The shop wasn't fancy, just a simple garage with a few tools, a workbench, and a sign that read Marcus's Auto Repair hanging above the door. But it was always busy. People trusted Marcus because he didn't overcharge them or take shortcuts. He was honest, hardworking, and always willing to lend a hand. One rainy afternoon, as the clouds hung low and raindrops pattered against the ground, Marcus was getting ready to close up the shop. It had been a long day and he was looking forward to heading home to relax. Just as he was about to pull down the metal shutter, something caught his eye. Standing near the curb, soaked to the bone, was a young boy staring at a broken bicycle, lying on the wet pavement. The bike's chain had slipped off and its tires were flat. The boy looked miserable, his clothes drenched and his face pale from the cold. Marcus sighed softly and stepped out from under the awning, walking over to the boy. "Hey there," he said gently, trying not to startle him. "You okay?" The boy looked up, startled by the voice. His name was Ethan, though Marcus didn't know that yet. Ethan hesitated before answering, clutching the handlebars of his bike tightly. "I'm fine," he mumbled, though it was clear he wasn't. His teeth chattered slightly, and his hands were trembling, not just from the cold but also from frustration. Marcus crouched down beside him, examining the bike. "Looks like this thing needs some fixing," he said with a warm smile. "How about we get you out of the rain first? My shop's nice and dry." Ethan shook his head quickly. "No, thank you. I don't have any money to pay for repairs," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. There was a hint of shame in his tone, as if he felt embarrassed about his situation. Marcus chuckled softly, standing back up. "Don't worry about that right now. Come inside before you catch a cold. We can figure everything else out later." Reluctantly, Ethan followed Marcus into the shop. The warmth inside was a welcome relief after standing in the rain for so long. Marcus handed him a towel to dry off and offered him a cup of hot cocoa. He kept in a thermos for customers who visited during colder months. As Ethan sipped the warm drink, Marcus rolled the bike into the center of the workspace and began inspecting it more closely. "This isn't too bad," Marcus said reassuringly. "Just needs a little TLC." He glanced at Ethan, whose eyes were fixed on the bike with a mix of hope and worry. "Tell me, is this your only way of getting around?" Ethan nodded slowly. "Yeah, my mom works late shifts and she can't always drive me places, so I use my bike to go to school and stuff." Marcus nodded thoughtfully. He could see how important the bike was to the boy. It wasn't just a toy, it was a lifeline. Without it, Ethan would struggle even more than he already did. Marcus decided then and there that he wouldn't charge Ethan a cent for the repair. Not everyone would understand why he chose to do this, but Marcus believed strongly in helping those in need, especially when they couldn't help themselves. As Marcus worked on the bike, Ethan watched him intently. Every movement Marcus made seemed precise and deliberate, as if he'd done this 1,000 times before, which of course he had. Occasionally, Marcus would explain what he was doing, teaching Ethan a thing or two about basic bike maintenance. "You see this chain here?" Marcus pointed to the part he was adjusting. "If it keeps slipping off, it means the tension needs to be adjusted. A little tightening goes a long way." Ethan listened carefully, nodding along. Though he didn't say much, he appreciated the effort Marcus was putting into explaining things. For someone like Ethan, who rarely received attention or guidance, this moment felt special. After about half an hour, Marcus stood up, wiping his greasy hands on a rag. "All done," he announced with a grin. "Take it for a spin outside and let me know if anything feels off." Ethan's eyes lit up with excitement. He grabbed the handlebars and wheeled the bike outside, testing it cautiously at first. To his amazement, it worked perfectly. The pedals turned smoothly, the tires held air, and the chain stayed firmly in place. Turning back to Marcus, Ethan's face broke into a wide smile. "It's perfect, thank you so much." Marcus waved off the thanks. Don't mention it. Everyone deserves a little help now and then. But Ethan wasn't satisfied with just saying thank you. Over the next few weeks, he found ways to show his gratitude. Whenever he passed by the shop, he'd stop in to say hello. Sometimes he brought cookies his mom baked, and other times he offered to sweep the floor or organize tools. Marcus appreciated the gesture, though he insisted it wasn't necessary. Still, having Ethan around brightened his days. The boy reminded him of himself when he was younger, eager to learn and determined to make something of his life despite the odds stacked against him. During one of their conversations, Marcus asked Ethan about his dreams. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" he inquired casually while working on a car engine. Ethan paused, thinking carefully before answering. "I'm not sure yet, but I think I'd like to build things, like machines or gadgets, something useful." Marcus smiled, impressed by the boy's ambition. "That's a great goal. You'll need to study hard and stay focused, but I believe you can do it. If you ever need advice, you know where to find me." Those words stuck with Ethan long after he left the shop that day. For the first time in his life, someone had told him he could achieve his dreams. Someone believed in him. And that belief became a spark, a tiny flame of hope that grew brighter with each passing day. Little did either of them know, this chance encounter between a struggling mechanic and a poor boy would set into motion events that would change both their lives forever. What started as a simple act of kindness would eventually blossom into something far greater, a bond built on trust, gratitude, and the power of paying it forward. After the day Marcus fixed Ethan's bike, their lives began to intertwine in small but meaningful ways. Ethan didn't just disappear after his bike was repaired. Instead, he kept coming back to the shop. At first, it was just to say thank you again or to bring something small, a plate of cookies his mom baked, a drawing he made at school, or sometimes just a friendly wave as he rode past on his now functional bike. But over time, those visits became more frequent and meaningful. Ethan started showing up early in the mornings before school and stayed late in the afternoons whenever he could. He'd sit quietly in a corner, watching Marcus work on cars and bikes. Sometimes Marcus would hand him a wrench or a rag and ask him to help with simple tasks like cleaning tools or holding parts steady while he tightened bolts. For Ethan, these moments were magical. It wasn't just about learning how things worked, it was about feeling useful, valued, and part of something bigger than himself. One sunny afternoon, as Ethan sat cross-legged on the floor organizing screws into different bins, Marcus decided to strike up a conversation. "You seem pretty interested in all this," Marcus said, nodding toward the engine he was fixing. "Do you like working with machines?" Ethan looked up, surprised that Marcus had noticed. "Yeah, I guess so," he replied shyly. "I've always liked figuring out how stuff works. Like when my bike broke, I tried to fix it myself, but I didn't know what I was doing." Marcus chuckled softly. "Well, that's how everyone starts. Nobody knows everything right away. You learn by doing and by making mistakes. Trust me, I've made plenty." Ethan tilted his head curiously. "What kind of mistakes?" Marcus leaned against the workbench, thinking for a moment. "When I was your age, I once tried to take apart an old lawnmower because I thought it would be fun to see how it worked. Long story short, I couldn't put it back together, and my dad wasn't too happy about it." He laughed at the memory, and Ethan joined in, imagining a younger version of Marcus covered in grease and looking sheepish. "But here's the thing," Marcus continued, his tone turning serious. "Even though I messed up, I learned from it. Every mistake taught me something new. That's why I keep telling people you've got to try, even if you're scared you'll fail. Failure isn't the end. It's just a step along the way." Those words stuck with Ethan. They weren't just about fixing bikes or cars, they were about life. For a boy who often felt like the world was stacked against him, hearing someone say that failure wasn't something to fear gave him courage. It made him want to dream bigger and push harder, even when things seemed impossible. As the weeks turned into months, Ethan became a regular fixture at the shop. Marcus treated him like family, teaching him not only about mechanics but also about patience, perseverance, and kindness. Whenever customers came in, Marcus introduced Ethan proudly. "This is my helper," he'd say with a grin, ruffling Ethan's hair. The customers usually smiled warmly, appreciating the bond between the two. But life wasn't easy for either of them. Marcus's shop struggled financially, especially as larger chain stores moved into town and undercut his prices. He worked long hours, often skipping meals or staying late to finish jobs. Despite his best efforts, business was slow and bills piled up. Still, Marcus never let his struggles show around Ethan. He wanted the boy to feel safe and supported, even if it meant pretending everything was fine. For Ethan, life outside the shop was a constant challenge. His family lived paycheck to paycheck and money was always tight. His mom worked double shifts at a diner to make ends meet, leaving Ethan to fend for himself most evenings. School was tough, too. Many of the other kids teased him for wearing hand-me-down clothes or bringing peanut butter sandwiches for lunch every day. But no matter how hard things got, Ethan found solace in Marcus's shop. There, he felt accepted and valued, qualities he rarely experienced elsewhere. One chilly winter evening, as snowflakes began drifting down from the gray sky, Ethan arrived at the shop carrying a small box wrapped in brown paper. Marcus was hunched over a car engine, muttering under his breath about a stubborn bolt that refused to budge. When Ethan tapped him on the shoulder, Marcus turned around, wiping his oily hands on a rag. "What's this?" Marcus asked, eyeing the package curiously. "It's for you," Ethan said, holding it out. "It's not much, but I wanted to say thank you." Marcus hesitated, unsure whether to accept it. "Ethan, you don't have to give me anything. You already help out around here more than enough." "I know," Ethan replied earnestly, "but I wanted to. Please open it." With a smile, Marcus unwrapped the gift carefully. Inside was a handmade keychain shaped like a wrench, crafted from scraps of metal Ethan had collected around the shop. It wasn't perfect, the edges were rough and the paint job was uneven, but it was clear how much effort Ethan had put into making it. "This is amazing," Marcus said, genuinely touched. "You made this yourself?" Ethan nodded, his cheeks flushing with pride. "Yeah, I figured since you're always using wrenches it might come in handy." Marcus chuckled and clipped the keychain onto his belt loop. "It's perfect, thanks buddy, this means a lot." That night, as Ethan biked home through the snow, he felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the cold air biting at his face. Knowing that Marcus appreciated his gift filled him with a sense of purpose. He realized that even small acts of kindness could make a big difference, not just for others but for himself too. Over the years, Ethan's visits to the shop became less frequent as he grew older and busier with school. Middle school brought new challenges, including tougher classes and higher expectations. But no matter how hectic life got, Ethan never forgot about Marcus. On weekends or holidays, he still stopped by to check in, bringing updates about his grades or sharing stories about his latest science projects. Marcus listened intently, offering advice and encouragement whenever Ethan needed it. "You're going places, kid," Marcus told him one summer afternoon as they sat together under the shade of a tree behind the shop. "Mark my words, one day you'll be building rockets or designing robots or something incredible." Ethan grinned, though he wasn't entirely sure he believed it yet. "Maybe, but if I do, it'll be because of you. You're the one who taught me I can try, even if I'm scared." Marcus shook his head modestly. "No, Ethan, you're the one doing the work. I'm just here cheering you on." Though neither of them knew it at the time, their bond was stronger than either of them realized. What started as a simple act of kindness, a mechanic fixing a poor boy's bike, had blossomed into a relationship built on trust, mentorship, and mutual respect. And while life continued to throw obstacles their way, both Marcus and Ethan carried with them the lessons they'd learned from each other, that kindness has the power to change lives, and that even the smallest gestures can leave a lasting impact. Years passed, and Ethan grew into a young man with dreams bigger than anyone in his small town could have imagined. Meanwhile, Marcus continued running his shop, facing hardships with quiet determination. Though they eventually lost touch as Ethan pursued opportunities far beyond Ohio, the foundation they'd built together remained solid. Little did they know fate had one more twist in store. A reunion that would bring their lives full circle in ways neither of them could have predicted. Years rolled by, and life took its natural course for both Marcus and Ethan. The small town where they had first met remained much the same. Quiet streets lined with modest homes, a few local shops struggling to compete with bigger businesses, and neighbors who knew each other's names. But while the town stayed unchanged, the lives of the mechanic and the boy he once helped were anything but static. For Marcus, the years brought challenges that tested his strength and resilience. His repair shop, which had always been a labor of love, began to struggle more than ever before. Big chain stores opened nearby, offering lower prices and faster service. Customers who once relied on Marcus started going elsewhere, leaving him with fewer jobs and mounting bills. To make matters worse, the equipment in his shop was aging, and replacing it would cost more money than he could afford. Despite his best efforts to keep things running smoothly, Marcus found himself working longer hours for less reward. On top of the financial strain, loneliness crept into his life. Many of his old friends had moved away or passed on, and the long days spent fixing cars and bikes left little time for socializing. Sometimes, late at night after closing up the shop, Marcus would sit alone in his small apartment above the garage, staring out the window at the quiet street below. He thought about the past, the good times, the people he'd helped, and especially Ethan. Where was the boy now? Had he achieved the dreams they used to talk about? Marcus often wondered if Ethan even remembered him anymore. As for Ethan, life had taken him far from the little town where he grew up. After graduating high school as one of the top students in his class, he earned a scholarship to a prestigious university in Chicago. It wasn't easy. He worked part-time jobs to cover expenses while juggling a heavy course load. But Ethan thrived in the new environment. He studied mechanical engineering, inspired by the countless hours he'd spent watching Marcus tinker with engines and tools. Though he didn't realize it at the time, those early lessons in the shop planted the seeds for his future career. College was a whirlwind of activity for Ethan. He joined clubs, attended lectures by industry leaders, and participated in internships that gave him hands-on experience designing machines and systems. He excelled in every project he tackled, earning praise from professors and peers alike. Yet despite his success, Ethan never forgot where he came from, or the man who had believed in him when no one else did. During his junior year, Ethan landed an internship at a tech company specializing in robotics. It was exactly the kind of opportunity he dreamed of as a child sitting in Marcus's shop. At first, he felt out of place among the highly educated engineers and designers, many of whom came from privileged backgrounds. But Ethan's hard work and determination quickly earned him respect. By the end of the internship, the company offered him a full-time position upon graduation, a dream come true for someone who had started with so little. After finishing college, Ethan moved to Chicago permanently to begin his new job. The city was overwhelming at first, bright lights, towering skyscrapers, and crowds of people rushing to and fro. But Ethan adapted quickly. He threw himself into his work, contributing innovative ideas and solutions that impressed his colleagues. Over time, he rose through the ranks, eventually becoming a lead engineer on a cutting-edge robotics project. His designs earned recognition not just within the company, but also in the broader engineering community. Yet despite his achievements, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. As successful as he was, he often found himself thinking about Marcus and the lessons he'd learned in that humble auto repair shop. He remembered how Marcus had taught him to persevere through failure, to treat others with kindness, and to believe in himself even when the odds seemed impossible. Those values shaped who Ethan had become, and he wanted to honor them somehow. One day, during a business trip back to Ohio, Ethan decided to visit his hometown. It had been years since he'd been there, and curiosity pulled him toward familiar places. Driving down the main street, he noticed how some things had changed. The diner where his mom used to work had closed. and a new gas station stood where the old park used to be. But other parts of the town looked exactly the same, including Marcus's shop. Slowing his car to a stop outside the building, Ethan felt a pang of sadness. The once vibrant sign above the door now looked faded and worn. The windows were streaked with dirt, and the awning sagged slightly under the weight of years. A handwritten note taped to the glass read, "Closed today." Something about the sight struck Ethan deeply. This place had been a second home to him once, yet now it seemed forgotten. Determined to see Marcus, Ethan parked his car and walked inside. The bell above the door jingled softly as he entered, but the shop was empty. Tools lay scattered across. The workbench and oil stains marked the concrete floor. For a moment, Ethan wondered if Marcus still worked here or if he'd retired. Just as he was about to leave, a voice called out from the back room. "Hello? Anyone there?" Ethan froze, recognizing the voice instantly. It was deeper now, tinged with weariness, but unmistakably Marcus's. Stepping forward, Ethan called back, "It's me, Ethan, from years ago." There was a pause, followed by the sound of footsteps. Then Marcus appeared, wiping his hands on a greasy rag. At first he didn't recognize the tall, confident young man standing in front of him, but then his eyes widened, and a slow smile spread across his face. "Ethan?" Marcus asked, disbelief coloring his tone. "Is that really you?" "It's me," Ethan confirmed, grinning. "I came back to visit, and I wanted to see you." Marcus laughed, shaking his head in amazement. "Look at you. You're all grown up. What are you doing these days?" Ethan hesitated, unsure how to summarize everything that had happened since they last saw each other. "I'm working as an engineer in Chicago," he said finally, "designing robots and machines. I wouldn't be where I am today without your help, Marcus." Marcus waved off the compliment modestly. "Nonsense, you did all the hard work. I just fixed a bike." "No," Ethan insisted, his voice firm. "You gave me hope when I needed it most. You showed me what it means to be kind and to believe in someone, even when they don't believe in themselves. That's why I'm here now. I want to return the favor." Marcus frowned slightly, confused. "What do you mean?" Ethan explained how he'd been thinking about Marcus and the shop lately. He described the struggles he'd faced growing up and how Marcus's encouragement had kept him going. Now seeing the state of the shop, he realized Marcus must be dealing with challenges of his own. "I can help," Ethan said earnestly. "Let me repay you for everything you've done for me." Marcus shook his head, touched by the offer, but reluctant to accept. "Ethan, I appreciate it, but I can't ask you to do that. You've got your own life to focus on." "You didn't ask," Ethan replied with a smile. "I'm offering, and trust me, I won't take no for an answer." Over. The next hour, the two men caught up on everything that had happened in their lives since they last saw each other. Marcus shared stories about the ups and downs of running the shop, while Ethan talked about his journey from a small-town kid to a successful engineer. They laughed, reminisced, and even shed a few tears as they reconnected. By the end of the conversation, Marcus agreed to let Ethan help. He didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain. The bond they'd formed all those years ago was as strong as ever. And though neither of them realized it yet, this reunion would set into motion events that would change both their lives forever. The days following Ethan's visit to Marcus's shop were filled with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. For Marcus, the idea of accepting help from someone he once mentored felt strange. He had always been the one giving, not receiving, and it took some time for him to adjust to the role reversal. But as much as he wanted to turn down Ethan's offer, he couldn't deny that his shop was in desperate need of change. The equipment was outdated, the building needed repairs, and without a boost in business, he feared the shop might not survive another year. Ethan, on the other hand, was determined to make a difference. After returning to Chicago, he began brainstorming ways to revitalize Marcus's shop. His engineering background gave him unique insights into how technology could improve efficiency and attract more customers. He spent hours researching modern tools, software, and marketing strategies that could transform the struggling garage into a thriving business. One weekend, Ethan drove back to Ohio armed with plans and ideas. When he arrived at the shop, Marcus greeted him warmly but still seemed hesitant. "You really didn't have to come all this way," Marcus said, scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. "I told you I don't want to be a burden." "You're not a burden," Ethan replied firmly. "This is important to me. Let me do this. For both of us." Over the next few weeks, Ethan worked tirelessly alongside Marcus to implement his plan. First, they upgraded the shop's tools and equipment. With Ethan's connections in the tech industry, he secured discounted rates on advanced diagnostic machines and computerized systems that could analyze car problems faster and more accurately than ever before. These upgrades not only improved the quality of service but also allowed Marcus to take on more complex repair jobs, which brought in higher-paying customers. Next, Ethan helped Marcus redesign the shop's layout to make it more organized and efficient. Tools were neatly arranged on labeled shelves, workstations were rearranged for better flow, and a fresh coat of paint brightened up the interior. The transformation was remarkable. What had once been a cluttered, dimly lit space now looked professional and inviting. But Ethan didn't stop there. Knowing that attracting new customers would be key to the shop's success, he created a website and social media pages to promote Marcus's services online. He even designed eye-catching flyers and posters to distribute around town, highlighting the shop's newly acquired capabilities. Word quickly spread about the improvements, and soon, people who hadn't visited in years started coming back. Marcus watched all these changes unfold with a mixture of awe and gratitude. Though he occasionally worried about whether he could keep up with the demands of running a more modern shop, Ethan reassured him every step of the way. "You've got this," Ethan told him one evening as they sat together after closing time. "All the skills you already have will transfer perfectly. And if you ever need help figuring out the new stuff, I'm just a phone call away." As the shop began to thrive again, Marcus noticed something else changing too: his outlook on life. For so long, he had carried the weight of financial stress and loneliness on his shoulders, feeling like the world had passed him by. But now, with Ethan's support and the renewed energy in his business, he felt a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. Customers complimented him on the shop's improvements, and old friends stopped by just to chat. Life felt lighter, brighter, and full of possibilities. Meanwhile, Ethan found himself growing closer to Marcus during those weeks. They talked about everything: their dreams, their fears, and the lessons they'd learned along the way. Marcus shared stories about his younger days, including the struggles he faced growing up in a tough neighborhood and how he overcame them through hard work and perseverance. Ethan listened intently, realizing how much Marcus's experiences mirrored his own journey. "I never knew how hard things were for you," Ethan admitted one afternoon as they worked side by side replacing a car's brakes. "You always made it look so easy." Marcus chuckled softly. "That's because I didn't want anyone to worry about me. Besides, everyone has their battles, don't they? It's not about what happens to you, it's about how you handle it." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "You taught me that. Remember when you fixed my bike and said failure isn't the end? That stuck with me. Every time I hit a roadblock, I reminded myself of what you said. It kept me going." Hearing those words touched Marcus deeply. He had no idea the impact his simple act of kindness had made on Ethan's life. In that moment, he realized that helping others wasn't just about solving immediate problems. It was about planting seeds of hope that could grow into something extraordinary. As the weeks turned into months, the bond between Marcus and Ethan grew stronger than ever. Their partnership extended beyond the shop. They became true friends, confiding in each other and supporting one another through challenges. Marcus often joked that Ethan was like the son he never had, while Ethan considered Marcus the father figure he'd always wished for. With the shop running smoothly again, Ethan eventually had to return to his job in Chicago. Though he hated leaving Marcus behind, he promised to stay in touch and visit regularly. Before heading back, he handed Marcus a small notebook filled with notes and instructions for maintaining the new equipment. "Just in case you forget anything," Ethan teased with a grin. Marcus accepted the notebook gratefully, though he knew he wouldn't need it. What he valued most wasn't the technical knowledge, but the friendship and trust they had built together. As Ethan drove away, Marcus stood outside the shop, watching until the car disappeared from view. For the first time in years, he felt hopeful about the future. Back in Chicago, Ethan threw himself back into his work, but his mind often drifted to Marcus in the shop. He couldn't shake the feeling that their reunion had reignited something inside him, a desire to give back to others just as Marcus had done for him. Inspired by their story, Ethan decided to start mentoring young students interested in engineering. He reached out to local schools and community centers, offering to host workshops and share his experiences. At the same time, Marcus continued, expanding his business, using the skills and confidence Ethan had helped him build. He hired 2 assistants to manage the increased workload and began offering classes on basic car maintenance for beginners. Many of his students were teenagers, from low-income families, kids who reminded him of Ethan when he was younger. Teaching them gave Marcus immense satisfaction, knowing he was passing on the same values and lessons Ethan had cherished. Though their lives were busy and separated by distance, Marcus and Ethan stayed connected through regular calls and emails. They celebrated milestones together, Ethan's promotions at work, Marcus's growing customer base, and shared updates about their personal lives. Both men knew their paths might never cross daily again, but the foundation they had built remained unshakable. What started as a chance encounter between a struggling mechanic and a poor boy had blossomed into a lifelong friendship, one rooted in kindness, gratitude, and mutual respect. Neither Marcus nor Ethan could have predicted how far they would come or the ripple effects their actions would create. But as they looked back on their journey, they understood one undeniable truth. Sometimes, the smallest acts of generosity can lead to the greatest transformations, not just in individual lives but in entire communities, and yet, their story wasn't over. Little did they know, the impact of their partnership would continue to inspire others in ways neither of them could imagine. From the students Ethan mentored to the young mechanics Marcus trained, the legacy of kindness and perseverance they embodied would live on, touching countless lives for generations to come. As the years went by, both Marcus and Ethan continued to grow, not just individually but also in their shared mission to help others. Their partnership had transformed Marcus's shop into a thriving business, but more importantly, it had reignited a sense of purpose in both their lives. What started as an act of kindness, a mechanic fixing a poor boy's bike, had evolved into something much bigger, a ripple effect of generosity and mentorship that touched countless lives. For Marcus, running the shop became less about making ends meet and more about giving back to the community. With the upgrades Ethan had helped him implement, Marcus was able to take on more customers and offer services he'd never dreamed possible before. But beyond the mechanics, Marcus found joy in teaching young people who came to him eager to learn. Many of these kids were like Ethan once was, struggling financially, unsure of their future, and hungry for guidance. Marcus saw himself in them and made it his mission to show them what was possible with hard work and determination. Every Saturday morning, Marcus held free workshops at the shop for teenagers interested in learning basic car repair. He called it Wrench Wisdom, a playful name that stuck when one of his students jokingly suggested it during a class. The program quickly gained popularity, drawing kids from all over town. Some attended because they needed practical skills to help their families, while others simply wanted to explore a potential career path. Whatever their reasons, Marcus welcomed them all with open arms. During these sessions, Marcus didn't just teach technical skills. He shared life lessons too. He talked about overcoming failure, staying resilient in tough times, and treating others with kindness. His stories resonated deeply with the students, many of whom faced challenges similar to those Marcus described. One boy, named Ryan, stood out in particular. Like Ethan years ago, Ryan often lingered around the shop after class, asking questions and helping clean up tools. Marcus noticed the spark in Ryan's eyes, the same curiosity and drive that had defined Ethan, and took him under his wing. Meanwhile, Ethan's career in Chicago soared to new heights. After several years of dedication and innovation, he earned a promotion to lead a team developing cutting-edge robotics technology. His designs revolutionized industries ranging from manufacturing to healthcare, earning him recognition not only within his company but also across the engineering world. Despite his success, Ethan remained grounded, always remembering where he came from and the values Marcus had instilled in him. Inspired by Marcus's example, Ethan expanded his efforts to mentor young students. He partnered with local schools and community centers to host workshops and hands-on projects, encouraging kids to pursue careers in science and engineering. Ethan often told his own story during these sessions, recounting how Marcus had changed his life with a simple act of kindness. He emphasized that no matter where you start in life, believing in yourself and having someone believe in you can make all the difference. One day, while visiting a high school in a low-income neighborhood, Ethan met a girl named Mia. She was quiet and reserved, sitting at the back of the classroom with her head down. When Ethan asked if anyone had questions about engineering, she hesitated before raising her hand. Her voice trembled slightly as she asked, "Do you think someone like me could ever do what you do?" Ethan smiled warmly and walked over to her desk. "Absolutely. Why wouldn't you be able to?" Mia shrugged, avoiding eye contact. "I don't know. My family doesn't have much money and I'm not sure I'm smart enough." Ethan knelt beside her, speaking softly so only she could hear. "Let me tell you something, Mia. When I was your age, I didn't think I was smart enough, either. I grew up in a small town and my family struggled to get by, but someone believed in me, a man named Marcus. He taught me that it's not about how much money you have or how smart you are right now. It's about working hard and never giving up. If you want this, you can achieve it. Trust me." Tears welled up in Mia's eyes, but she nodded, determination flickering in her expression. From that day forward, Mia became one of Ethan's most dedicated mentees. She attended every workshop he hosted, soaking up knowledge and asking endless questions. Over time, her confidence grew, and she began dreaming of becoming an engineer herself. Back in Ohio, Marcus saw similar transformations happening among his own students. Ryan, the boy who reminded him of Ethan, proved to be exceptionally talented, with tools and problem-solving. Under Marcus's guidance, Ryan learned advanced techniques and even started assisting with repairs in the shop. By the time he graduated high school, Ryan had saved enough money from odd jobs at the shop to enroll in a trade school, specializing in automotive technology. On the day Ryan left for trade school, Marcus gave him a small gift, a wrench engraved with the words, "Keep turning." It was the same keychain Ethan had made years ago, recreated as a symbol of perseverance and gratitude. As Ryan hugged Marcus goodbye, tears streaming down his face, Marcus felt a swell of pride. He knew Ryan would go far, just as Ethan had. The impact of Marcus and Ethan's efforts extended far beyond their immediate circles. Former students of Marcus's workshops began opening their own repair shops, carrying forward the lessons they'd learned. Some even adopted Marcus's practice of mentoring young people, creating a chain reaction of kindness and skill sharing. Similarly, Ethan's mentees pursued careers in engineering, inspired by his story and dedication to helping others. Many credited him with sparking their interest in STEM fields, proving that representation and encouragement mattered more than anything else. Despite living hundreds of miles apart, Marcus and Ethan stayed in close contact. They spoke regularly, on the phone, sharing updates about their lives and the progress of their respective programs. Whenever Ethan visited Ohio, he stopped by the shop to catch up with Marcus and meet the latest group of students. These visits became cherished traditions filled with laughter, storytelling, and heartfelt conversations. One summer evening, as they sat together outside the shop watching the sunset, Marcus turned to Ethan with a thoughtful expression. "You know, I've been thinking lately," he said. "We've helped a lot of people over the years, you and me, but there's still so much more we could do." Ethan raised an eyebrow curiously. "What do you mean?" "Well," Marcus continued, leaning back in his chair, "we've focused mostly on teaching skills, right? Which is great. But what if we tried to reach even more people? Maybe we could create something bigger, like a foundation or a scholarship program, to support kids who need help getting started." Ethan's eyes lit up at the idea. That's brilliant, Marcus. We could combine our resources and networks to make it happen. You've got connections in the trade industry and I've got contacts in engineering and tech. Together we could really make a difference. Excited by the prospect, they spent the next few months planning their initiative. They named it the Turning Wrenches, Changing Lives Foundation, a nod to the tool that had become a symbol of their journey. The foundation aimed to provide scholarships, training programs, and mentorship opportunities for young people from underserved communities. Whether they dreamed of becoming mechanics, engineers, or anything else, the foundation would give them the tools and support they needed to succeed. Launching the foundation required significant effort and coordination, but neither Marcus nor Ethan shied away from the challenge. They reached out to friends, colleagues, and local businesses for donations and sponsorships. To their surprise, the response was overwhelmingly positive. People admired their commitment to giving back and eagerly contributed to the cause. Within a year, the foundation was up and running, hosting its first annual gala to raise funds and awareness. At the gala, held in a modest banquet hall in Ohio, Marcus and Ethan stood side by side as they addressed the crowd. Both men were visibly emotional as they recounted their journey. From the rainy afternoon when Marcus fixed Ethan's bike to the present moment, standing before a room full of supporters eager to join their mission. None of this would have been possible without kindness, Marcus said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. A single act of kindness changed my life and Ethan's life, and now we're seeing it change the lives of so many others. That's the power of paying it forward. Ethan nodded, stepping forward to add, Marcus taught me that failure isn't the end, it's just a step along the way. And today we're here to remind everyone in this room that no matter where you come from or what challenges you face, you have the power to turn things around. All it takes is one person believing in you, and then passing that belief on to someone else. The audience erupted in applause, moved by their words. As Marcus and Ethan looked out at the sea of faces, they felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Their partnership had grown from a simple act of kindness into a movement that transcended generations and communities. Though they couldn't predict exactly where the foundation would lead, they knew one thing for certain. The legacy of kindness and resilience they embodied would continue to inspire others long after they were gone. And so, the story of Marcus and Ethan came full circle, not as an ending but as a beginning. A testament to the enduring power of compassion, mentorship, and the belief that even the smallest gestures can leave a lasting impact on the world. The Turning Wrenches Changing Lives Foundation quickly became a beacon of hope for countless young people across the country. What started as a small idea between Marcus and Ethan blossomed into a nationwide initiative, reaching communities far beyond their hometowns. The foundation's mission, to empower underserved youth through education, mentorship, and opportunities in trades and technology, struck a chord with people from all walks of life. Donations poured in, partnerships formed, and stories of transformation began to emerge, each one a testament to the power of kindness and belief. For Marcus, seeing the foundation grow was both humbling and exhilarating. He never imagined that his little repair shop would inspire such a large-scale movement. Yet, here he was, traveling to different cities to speak at events, meet scholarship recipients, and encourage young people to pursue their dreams. Despite his age, Marcus remained energetic and passionate, driven by the knowledge that his efforts were making a real difference. One memorable moment came during a visit to a trade school in Detroit. Marcus stood before a group of students, many of whom had grown up in difficult circumstances. As he shared his own story, how he overcame hardships and built a life helping others, he noticed a young woman named Tasha sitting in the front row, nodding along intently. After the talk, she approached him shyly but with determination in her eyes. "Mr. Johnson," she said, clutching a notebook tightly, "I just wanted to say thank you. Your foundation gave me a scholarship and now I'm learning how to fix cars. It's something I've always wanted to do, but I didn't think it was possible." Marcus smiled warmly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Tasha, don't ever doubt yourself. You're capable of amazing things. Just keep working hard, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it." Tasha beamed, promising to stay in touch and update him on her progress. Moments like these reminded Marcus why he kept going, even when the work felt overwhelming. Every success story fueled his resolve to reach more young people and show them what they could achieve. Meanwhile, Ethan continued expanding the foundation's reach into the tech and engineering fields. His connections in Chicago allowed him to secure internships and job shadowing opportunities for students eager to explore STEM careers. One of his proudest achievements was launching a robotics camp for middle schoolers, where kids learned to design and build their own machines under the guidance of professional engineers. At one of these camps, Ethan met a boy named Jamal, whose creativity and problem-solving skills impressed everyone. When asked about his inspiration, Jamal grinned and said, "My mom always told me I could be anything I want, but hearing your story made me believe it for real." Ethan chuckled, feeling a lump rise in his throat. "Well, Jamal, you've got a bright future ahead of you. Keep building, keep dreaming, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise." As the years passed, the foundation's impact grew exponentially. Former scholarship recipients went on to excel in their chosen fields, often returning to mentor the next generation of students. Ryan, Marcus's protege, opened his own auto repair shop in a neighboring town and partnered with the foundation to offer apprenticeships. Mia, Ethan's mentee, graduated top of her class in engineering and landed a prestigious job designing sustainable energy solutions. Both credited Marcus and Ethan not only for their financial support, but also for teaching them the value of perseverance and giving back. The ripple effect of their actions spread further than either man had anticipated. Local businesses began adopting similar mentorship programs inspired by the foundation's success. Schools incorporated hands-on workshops into their curriculums, encouraging students to explore practical skills alongside academics. Even larger corporations took notice, pledging resources and funding to support initiatives aimed at closing the opportunity gap. Despite their busy schedules, Marcus and Ethan made time to reflect on how far they'd come. During one of their regular phone calls, Ethan remarked, "You know, Marcus, sometimes I look back and wonder how we got here. A bike repair turned into a foundation that's changing lives across the country. It's surreal." Marcus laughed softly. "It's simple, really. We help someone, and they help someone else. That's how it works. Kindness isn't complicated. It just grows when you let it." Their friendship remained the heart of everything they did. Though they lived miles apart, their bond was unshakable. They celebrated milestones together, Ryan's shop opening, Mia's graduation, the foundation's 5th anniversary, and leaned on each other during tough times. When Marcus faced health challenges later in life, Ethan flew to Ohio to care for him, ensuring he received the best treatment available. In return, Marcus offered unwavering emotional support whenever Ethan doubted himself or felt overwhelmed by responsibility. Their partnership extended beyond personal camaraderie. It became a model for others to follow. At conferences and seminars, they spoke about the importance of collaboration and community in creating lasting change. They emphasized that no single person could solve big problems alone, but together, ordinary individuals could accomplish extraordinary things. Years later, as Marcus sat in his rocking chair on the porch of his home, now retired from running the shop, he reflected on his life with gratitude. The foundation had surpassed his wildest dreams, touching thousands of lives and inspiring countless acts of kindness. Yet he knew its true legacy wasn't measured in numbers or accolades. It was seen in the smiles of young people finding purpose, in families lifted out of poverty, and in communities strengthened by unity. Ethan, too, found fulfillment in knowing that his success hadn't been for nothing. While awards and recognition were nice, they paled in comparison to the joy of seeing others succeed because of his efforts. He often thought about the rainy afternoon when Marcus fixed his bike, a moment that seemed so small at the time but ultimately shaped the course of his life. It reminded him that every interaction mattered, no matter how insignificant it might seem. In interviews and public appearances, Ethan frequently credited Marcus as the inspiration behind his achievements. "If it weren't for him," Ethan would say, "I wouldn't be standing here today. He taught me that kindness is the greatest gift we can give, and that paying it forward creates a chain reaction of good. As the sun set on another day, Marcus and Ethan sat together outside the shop, now converted into a community center for the Foundation. They watched as teenagers tinkered with engines, coded robots, and brainstormed ideas for new projects. Laughter filled the air, mingling with the hum of activity. For a moment, neither man spoke. They simply soaked in the scene, content in the knowledge that their work had created something enduring. "We did good, didn't we?" Marcus finally said, breaking the silence. Ethan nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "We sure did, Marcus, and the best part is it's not over yet. This is just the beginning." And indeed it was. The Turning Wrenches, Changing Lives Foundation continued to thrive, adapting to new challenges and opportunities as the world evolved. Its core message remained unchanged, that kindness, mentorship, and belief in others have the power to transform lives. From a mechanic's humble act of fixing a poor boy's bike to a nationwide movement empowering future generations, the story of Marcus and Ethan proved that even the smallest gestures can leave a legacy that lasts forever. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Marcus leaned back in his chair, closing his eyes with a peaceful smile. Ethan sat beside him, gazing at the horizon filled with quiet pride. Together they had built something greater than themselves, a testament to the enduring power of compassion, resilience, and the human spirit. And though their journey had taken unexpected turns, one thing was certain: their story would continue to inspire long after they were gone, reminding the world that kindness always finds a way to come full circle.